All right.
Oh,
Are we good, guys? All right.
good.
All right, everyone. Welcome to our first ever ZeroCast. I'm hoping that I'm coming live to you out there, wherever you may be, and that wherever you are, you're having a good day today. This is the first in what we hope is a series of ongoing webcasts from Zero Motorcycles, direct to our consumers and fans and followers out there. It's an opportunity for us to share a little bit about the inside of what's going on here at Zero, hear from some of the people that work on the bikes and build the bikes that are breaking new ground in terms of recreation and transportation, and to share a little bit of the fun around the lifestyle around Zero motorcycles. So, thanks for joining us. My name's Scott Harden. I'm the VP of Global Marketing of Zero. I've been with the company for 5 years and have seen a lot of the progress that all of you have as the bikes have improved and progressed over the last few years. A few things about the webcast today, the ZeroCast today, is this is the first time we've ever done it, so obviously we're expecting to have some little glitches here and there with the software and how it's being pushed out. So hopefully you'll bear with us, and we'll consider this a grand experiment that we're going through together. The next thing is that this is really about you, the people that are out there listening to this ZeroCast. We want to hear from you. We want to share this experience with you. We want to invite you to come inside the walls of what goes on here at Zero, to participate in the discussion, to help us to become a better company and to build a better motorcycle. So we had a great response to this event, and we really appreciate all of you who have taken time out of your day to meet with us. So without any further ado, I will say we're going to be giving a brief presentation today by Abe. Is going to give you a quick talk, a little bit of insight into our philosophy around our powertrain and what we're doing there. At the end of it, there'll be a Q&A session that we'll be feeding questions that you can type in, and we'll be feeding those to Abe, and we'll take those as long as we can until the session's up. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our CTO, Abe Askenazi.
Thank you, Scott. Hi, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. So a little bit about me. I was born, unlike what the Cycle World article said, I was born in Mexico City, not in Syria. Although my grandparents were born in Syria, so there's something there. I went to school in California. I went to Berkeley for a university. Started as an electrical engineer, transferred over to mechanical. Have been into motorcycles my entire life. I started riding when I was 10, so not my entire life, but for a very long time. And I did my master's in mechanical, and I did my thesis on single track vehicle dynamics. So I've been into not only the the motorcycle lifestyle and living with motorcycles, but also from academia and from full interest standpoint, I've always been into bikes, and it's it's a dream come true to be working in the motorcycle industry like it is for many of us here. So anyway, I applied to Buell Motorcycles right after I graduated, the only company that I applied to, and I was lucky enough to get in there. And I worked with Eric for about 15 years. We had an excellent ride. We learned a lot in all those years. Unfortunately, that came to an end about 5.5 years ago when the company was shut down. But again, I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to come out to Zero and help lead or product development and engineering here at Zero, which I've been doing for again 5.5 years. So that's a little background on me, and as we go through the presentation, I might bring some of that background up, and as I field your questions at the end, we'll go through that as well. So anyway, let me go to presentation mode, and let me bring up presentation, and give me 1 second. Aha! I think we're in presentation mode now. So first, a little bit about our company. I think it's good to start there for those that don't know. So we were established back in 2006 here in the Scotts Valley area, California, close to Santa Cruz. We also have a European marketing and sales office in Alkmaar, so we have basically two offices, one in the U.S. and one in Europe. We have a lot of field staff as well, especially on the sales side. So there are people working throughout not only the U.S. but worldwide. We have people out in the field, but again, just these two offices. We're currently employ about 130 people. We have some temporary employment in the manufacturing line, so those numbers can go up and down a little bit, but roughly around 130 people. We do everything here from design, development, all the way to assembling vehicles, procurement material for assembly, and market and distribution of the motorcycle. So soup to nuts. We do everything. Here at Zero Motorcycles. We sell to retail and fleet consumers throughout the world. We have we go mainly through a dealer network that we supply, but also through distributor networks in places like Middle East, Asia Pacific, and Latin America. Or the way that we operate, the way that we get our finances taken care of is through our main investor, a company called Imvis out of New York. They've been with us since 2008. It's an investment firm. They manage around $5 billion of capital in an evergreen structure. So they've been our partners. We're very, very fortunate that we have a single partner, Imvis, and who have been with us for as long as they have. And they believe in this technology, and they're with us for the ride. And it's great to have them. Supply chain. We're not very dogmatic about supply chain. We basically want to find the best partners wherever those partners may be. So we have a global supply chain, and by that I mean we have companies that make parts for us here in the U.S., in Europe, in Asia, in Mexico, in different places. So relative to the people, and it's all really about the people. We have just a wonderful, wonderful team here at Zero Motorcycles. Everyone in engineering, especially, but I'll say, 90% of the team overall, we're motorcycle enthusiasts. We love, motorcycles and the lifestyle and the experience and all that, and that really helps motivate us in everything that we do. We have intellectual property patents that cover the investment that we've made in electric powertrain. So we've been doing this, as I said before, since 2006, and man, we've learned a lot. We certainly had a lot to learn, and we've learned it. It's been a fantastic experience just in terms of the growth that we have seen and the growth that we continue to see. Relative to powertrains, which is the point of the conversation today, and how we define a powertrain. Basically, I have a schematic here that talks about the way that the current flows from where you're charging all the way to the discharge of the motor. So when we talk about a powertrain, we have a charger, we have a battery with its battery management system, we have a controller, we have a motor, and the master of ceremonies is what we call the main bike board, the MBB. And we do all of this in-house. We partner with many companies to make the components for us, but the development, the engineering, is all done in-house of all of these components. Relative to 15 model year, we'll have just a short mention of that. Every year we've been working on the powertrain because that's the core of what we do here. But 15 model year really was a seminal year for us in terms of rounding up the product. For many reasons prior to 15, the chassis may have been lagging a little bit of to the level the powertrain had gotten to, and so 15 model year was basically of rounding things up and making sure that we have that we're playing with the top guys on both sides, on both the powertrain and the chassis. So I don't need to say it again, but Bosch, ABS, Pirelli, all those things that we're talking about, all those brand names, the only reason that we're talking about them is to just make everyone aware that we've arrived. The 15 model year really is a year where we feel very proud of what we've gotten and the platform that it serves us to move into the future. So relative to our model line, we have basically 4 core models, or SR, the S, the DS, and the FX, and then we have both battery configuration derivatives as well as other types such as police derivatives or military derivatives of these models. But we basically have 4 core models. Our business strategically has a 3-prong approach, or 3 things that we look at as we move forward relative to the sort of partnerships that we form and the things that we look at to ensure that the business is growing in a healthy manner. First thing and foremost is consumers, and I imagine that all of you, if it's not most of you, all of you are consumers. And that's our main focus. And the reason that we believe we have a very compelling product for consumers is the experience that it provides. I mean, it really is all about the experience. It's we can talk about how advanced the powertrain is, and we will talk about some of the technical details. But at the end of the day, it's the thrill. It's the fact that when you get on these things, it's this force that propels you forward. This magic carpet ride. You don't know exactly where it's coming from because you don't hear the noise and you don't feel the vibration, but all of a sudden you're just being propelled forward and it feels great. And that's when I came to interview 5.5 years ago. When I came to interview at Zero, it's what sold me. I took a ride and I just couldn't believe it. Right? I just couldn't believe that this thing was happening. So that's what keeps us moving forward. And that's really this prong of our business is the reason that we're here. There's other things that we talk about. I mean, there is a low cost of ownership relative to electric. Electricity is relatively inexpensive as compared to gasoline, and the efficiency of the powertrain is much higher than it is, 4 times higher than it is on internal combustion. But again, those are things that are nice to have, but it's really the experience that the reason why we're doing this. Of course, a lot of you guys, early adopters, they love you guys love the technology and love the fact that it's green and all that stuff. Again, a lot of really nice things to have, but none of it really would matter without the wonderful experience that this powertrain or electric provides. The second prong is fleet and authority, and I think most of you guys have heard of of our growth there and how we're now in over 50 police departments in the United States alone, let alone some of the other police and military municipalities and locations that we have throughout the world. It's been really good for us. It makes a lot of sense for police and for military to explore electric. There are a lot of compelling things about electric, whether it's the stealthiness of the product and how you can sneak up on the bad guys, that sort of thing, or the fact that you're not emitting pollutants, and if you want to be patrolling areas that are roofed, or if you're at an airport or whatever, that you can go in and out. For those who have watched the San Jose State Police Department video, which is a great video, they go in and out of buildings, they go up and down the stairs. People like electric motorcycles, whereas people may be offended by internal combustion engine, loud motors or motorcycles that are making noise. These things people generally like, so it's great for community relations, that sort of thing. For us, though, and I'll go back to the consumer side of things, police and military applications allow us to learn how to make the vehicles more robust. And what we learn in those applications, and the military one was a great example of it. Everything we learned in that really tough project that we did with the military, we applied to the consumer side of things, and I think that benefits you, and it benefits our company greatly. Last thing I'll mention is powertrains. We do have a pretty cool powertrain, and it does have a lot of applications besides motorcycles, and so we have a lot of interested partners that we're speaking to. The one that has come to fruition that you can check out is rattlesnake carts, racing carts that are put together by a company called Rattlesnake Carts out of California. That again, we have learned a ton collaborating with Rattlesnake relative to the capabilities of our powertrain and pushing our powertrains to the limits in racing environments. So I think that's also been great for us. So something else that we're working on, something else that strategically is important to us. Why is it that we've invented a lot of stuff that we've invented? Why is it that we couldn't just take off-the-shelf components or car components or whatever and just start making motorcycles easily? And I think that the answer really is that motorcycles are a very different animal. And so if you're doing a mid to large car with an electric powertrain, you have certain requirements. And those requirements, relative to power and range are similar to a motorcycle, but the price premium may be, there may be a little more tolerance to that. And the energy density and power density requirements are not as high because you have a large vehicle to put a battery in. On the other end of things, we have small scooters and e-bikes that have very different requirements. Low power. Power is not as significant to those guys. Price is a key. Range is very limited, and that's by design, and that's acceptable. And then, because of the type of usage that's expected from these vehicles, the energy density and power density requirements are quite low. And then you have, again, motorcycles in the middle, where we're basically, we're being expected to perform to the level of an internal combustion engine in terms of power. Hopefully get there one of these days in terms of range, but that's what everyone is looking for. But it's a motorcycle. You can't fit a huge battery. So there's a space between your legs and between the front and rear tire, and it all needs to fit there. And so in order to do what we do, we've had to figure out a way to pack a lot of energy, both in terms of energy storage, but also in terms of power delivery of that energy into a very small space. So we have the most energy dense and power dense battery in the industry, bar none. There's just no other battery out there that has higher energy or power density, which is pretty astounding for a company our size. But again, it's the team. We have such a passionate, enthusiastic, and really capable team that's been able to deliver this. So talking a little bit about the architecture of our vehicles, I think is useful. And I'll mention 13 model year because once again, I used this word before, but let me use it again. 13 model year was really a seminal, very important year for us. Prior to that model year, since it was really all about the battery, or mainly about the battery, we went out there and searched the world for the most, energy dense, power dense cells that we could find. And then once we found those cells, we would design a battery around those cells. And because there's no standardization, no real standardization on shapes and size of those cells, we would, once we were done designing a pack around those cells, we'd have to design a motorcycle around that pack. And then the next year, we'd go out there and find a better cell and do it all over again. And that's not sustainable. You can't be designing brand new motorcycles every year. So, so for 13 model year, we really wanted to make sure that we created an architecture that was flexible and that it would serve us as a platform to build upon, moving forward. Our guiding principle, and this is really critical for us, and this I believe is what separates us from other companies, in that we believe that, as I mentioned before, the magic of electric, the reason that electric is just so cool, is the simplicity, not the appliance type simplicity, but just a thrilling simplicity. This, I guess, force that moves you that you don't really know where it's coming from, but it's like this magic carpet ride. There's no clutching, there's no shifting, there's no drama. It's just this purity of the experience, and it's all about the simplicity. So as we make design choices, look at things that we need to do to evolve our product, we always have to remind ourselves that this simplicity of the experience, the purity of the experience is what's key, and we need to keep it that way. We can't complicate things just for the sake of technology, right? That we really need to make sure that again, what we're creating here is a unique experience, and it's the purity of that experience that's important. So simple, thrilling, we love it. In order to then serve as much of the market as we thought would make sense for our company to do, we looked at basically two different applications. One of them was, and as you guys probably know, the background of our company is off-road. We started on the off-road, and that's what made sense at the time. And then we went to street. And so off-road, is in our roots, and it's something that we've always done. And we believed, or we still believe that based on a pure off-road application, or if you wanted to satisfy a mostly off-road application, that you needed a very light bike, and that you needed something to have the batteries come in and out easily. So you can swap batteries and go back out and that sort of thing. We also were developing this platform at the time that we got our military contract for the military MX, and part of the contract was 60-second charging. The only way you do 60-second charging is by swapping batteries. So this modular battery design was key to have, in one of our platforms. The other requirement is maximum range, right? How far you can go. So there's a whole thing about that platform, which we call the SDS platform, was to build, a motorcycle around the biggest battery that we could package. So one platform builds around a battery, and the other platform has this modular battery design. So how do we do that with this little company of ours, and trying to be, again, make the most out of the smallest number of parts that we could manage, and the whole thing relative to the battery was to come out with a cell box concept. So a cell box, which we also call a brick here, it's this foundational element that we said, all right, well, if we can create a box that we then give to cell companies to fill, then maybe we could use that box to create all of our batteries. So we created this cell box, this brick. And it led to 3 packs and 5 configurations of those packs that I'll talk about in a second. So it is the highest energy power density EV battery package, bar none. It continues to be that. The cell box has 28 cells in series, which gets us to our 102 volts nominal voltage. Cells are interconnected within that box, fused and instrumented, and it's a completely waterproof, watertight box. And it's everything starts with that, with the brick, with the cell box. The module is then a battery pack that's created with a single cell box. So we put our battery management system, our fuse, our contactor, all the peripherals that lead you from box full of cells to an actual self-sufficient battery pack, and now we call that a module, and that's what's available on our XMX line, and that's what gives full user modularity. And I forgot to correct this slide that says patent pending. We've actually been issued a patent, and I'll mention it later, relative to what full user modularity means and what that the usability it provides. Next, we have what this thing we call the monolith, because it's the big pack, right? And we said, well, let's say if we can figure out a pack that's big enough and still fits within our motorcycle that it can accommodate 4 of these things. So it gives us the most range, it gives us the most life. It has a single set of peripherals, so single BMS, single contactor, single fuse that manages up to 4 of these things. So we have for 15 model year, I should note that we work with our cell supplier to refine the chemistry specific to the SDS to get a 10% increase in range. So it's just it's not any more cells, it's just a different chemistry that allowed that. Now, the reason that we weren't able to do that for 15 model year, we weren't able to do that for the XMX, is that when in 13 model year, when we designed the cell box, the cell box had to be one thing that worked in all the platforms, and the power requirements in the XMX application, in the modular FX and military MX application, those power requirements, are much higher than they are on the SDS. So therefore, when we were able to work as we grew, and for 15 model year, we were able to work with our supplier to actually split that usage and say, hey, let's see if we can create a chemistry that's better optimized for the SDS usage and maintain the chemistry for the XMX, and that gave us another 10% in range for the SDS. So 3 brick or 3 cell box is CF 9.4, 4 cell box CF 12.5. For 14 model year, we were able to combine these 2 technologies on the SDS, or these 2 pack types, to add a power tank, basically taking one of those XMX modules and allowing its usage on SDS platform bikes to extend range even further, or give the possibility of extending range even further as an accessory for the SDS. So that's what get us to all the way to the 15.3 kilowatt hours, which is the maximum capacity that we offer in our motorcycles today. And every year, and this is something that we just believe very strongly in, that we are always looking at what we're doing and ensuring that what we're doing is the best that it can be. So every year we introduce improvements throughout the product, and especially on the powertrain, and even more especially on the battery. Talk a little bit about modularity and what we mean by it, and why we think it's so cool. So if you have a vehicle with 2 or more batteries, and in the FX and military MX configuration, we have 2 of these things, and you provide or you give the user full modularity that they can basically take these things in and out however they want, invariably you're going to end up at different states of charge. Invariably, you're going to take one out, charge it differently than the one that's on the vehicle, and eventually you're going to start with 2 modules or 2 batteries that are different states of charge. If you don't do something smart in order to manage that, that's just not going to work. So we needed to create this architecture driven by our main bike board, again, which is a master of ceremonies, to basically recognize that these things would be at a different state of charge and how to handle that. So first, on discharging, if there are different states of charge, we'll discharge from the one that's at a higher level, and then once it's even with the other one, then discharge both. Same thing for charge. You're charging on the vehicle, and both modules are there, and they start at different states of charge. We'll charge the one that at a lower level until it's even with the other one, and then it goes up from there. If you never take the modules off a vehicle, then they'll always be the same. But user modularity means that you can, and it's necessary to deal with that. Again, for military applications, for police applications, for racing, this is critical, right? Coming into the pits and having an 8-hour charge time just doesn't work, right? I mean, you have to come in, you have to be able to swap these things in and out, and invariably there'll be differences in charge. The other thing I should notice, which is kind of a technical thing that we had to also overcome, is that each module is capable of 20 kilowatts peak. That's how much power you can get out of a single module. So on an MMX, which is rated, the bike that's powertrain is rated to 40 kilowatts, it's great because each of them is capable of 20, so that provides it. On the FX, which is rated at 33 kilowatts, we're still using more than the 20 kilowatts of a single module. So if you start at different states of charge, and you're only drawing from one module, and you have an FX or an MMX that's capable of more power, we can't deliver that power until it's even with the other one. But once it is even with the other one, then we can deliver that. So the transition in power is important. If it's too abrupt, that doesn't work. That would be startling to the rider. So we also had to figure out how to manage that transition. Next, market leading range. Every year, every single model year, we've made improvements in capacity and range. I mean, every single one. Nobody else is doing this, and we'll continue to do this. The next thing, charging, and I know that there's a lot of conversation going on around charging, and let me just be brief about what our strategy has been. Most of the people who buy our motorcycles are buying them for commuting. Most people are charging at home, charging at work, and the range works for them. So the fact that this thing is charging in the background and it's taken as long as it is, it's fine for most people. We in the U.S. we have 15 amp circuits at 115 volts that are only capable of 1.3 kilowatts. So we maximized on the SDS the power of the charger to that 1.3 kilowatts. On the FX, it's got half the battery size, so because of its smaller volume availabilities, we put in a 650 watt charger, so the charge time is relatively the same. So with a single module FX, 3.7 hours and up to 8 hours with a 4-brick or ZF 12.5. We also, because we do know that some people want to charge faster, we offer these Delta Q rapid chargers that can be put in parallel with the onboard charger to enhance your charging capability. So up to 4 of these can be used on the SDS. I believe 3 of them on an FX with 2 modules. I'm forgetting exactly, but anyway, so we can get charging time down to a couple of hours. So if you get 4 of these ganged up and the onboard charger on a 4-brick on a ZF 12.5, you get it down to a couple hours. Anyway, and relative to public infrastructure and charging, we did offer CHAdeMO in the past. I should note that unfortunately, because the CHAdeMO was not rolled out as a standard, it was more of an agreement or a consortium in Japan. There are companies that have put out CHAdeMO infrastructure out at least in the U.S. that isn't completely compliant with that standard, and unfortunately we got into this issue where the CHAdeMO accessory was an expensive accessory for DC fast charging. People would buy it, put it on their bike, go to a station, and the station wouldn't go down to our voltage because it wasn't complying 100% to the standard. And then that person would be very disappointed because they couldn't charge. So the only point I want to make here is that standards at this point is the VHS Betamax thing, but even worse, right? There's numerous standards. They're competing. Not all of them are talking the same. Well, all of them are talking different languages, but not all of them are talking our language. And we're going to need to figure this out as we move forward. let me talk a little bit. I know that I want to take your questions, so let me try to go a little more quickly through this. So, motor controller. I should make a point that the motor that's on our motorcycles today, which was rolled out, the architecture was rolled out in 2013 model year. Again, that magical model year for us. It was designed from scratch for us. So Ryan Bifford, I know that many of you guys know who Ryan is. He came in and with some California Energy Commission grant money that we got, we were able to to design our own motor for our own application. And as we went into that design, it was all about, again, the sophisticated simplicity, right? To make sure that this thing was something that wasn't overly complex, and that it would, again, go with that mantra of ours, or that philosophy of ours, that should enhance the experience without complicating it. So it's a patented ultra high efficiency motor. It's maintenance free. It's air cooled, passively air cooled. It is a direct drive to a rear wheel. Via a high tension belt. It just delivers the most connected user experience. And again, it's a really cool architecture that Ryan was able to come up with to deliver this power, but overall it's really simple, which is fantastic. Again, and it's very flexible. So we use 3 controllers from Cefcon. The 250 at the bottom we only use on powertrains now that we offer, no longer on motorcycles because we discontinued the XU. But on the other bikes we use the 420 and 660 amp controllers married to different versions of the motor, where the only thing that changes is basically the length of the motor, number of turns on the windings, and some of the lead lengths, and then the temperature rating of magnets for the R version. But it's basically the same motor architecture that allows us to come up with these 4 different powertrains. And on the SR, as you guys know, 106 foot-pounds, 67 horsepower is pretty cool. It's a very very rewarding, thrilling experience. We compare relative to how it is that we look at ourselves relative to internal combustion engine. We're now basically in the mid displacement field, and again, electric power is not delivered same or in a similar fashion as internal combustion engines. So it in many ways is more thrilling. But if you just had to compare numbers, that's where we are today. And again, with 106 foot-pounds, we're doing very well against that competition. And again, we have the ability to grow the motor in its different dimensions. We have the ability to use different amperage controllers, like we did for the SR with a 660 amp controller. So we have a very flexible powertrain platform. And last I'll mention is our app, which again, since it was all about the experience, we wanted to see what we could do to further enhance that experience. And the big thing that the conclusion that we came to is that connectivity, that everything right now is getting to, everything in your life is getting to the point that is connected to every other thing. And we don't want to complicate things, but we want you to be able to speak the same language with our vehicles. And one of the things that we thought would be really cool is not only if we could show you more about what the bike is doing, which we do today, but also to be able to customize your ride, customize your experience. If you want more torque, more speed, or less torque, less speed, regen rates, that you should be able to do that. And so we rolled that out back again in 13 model year, which I think we were the first motorcycle company that allowed you to customize your ride. And with that, I think I'm going to get to questions.
Yes, thanks, Abe. Thank you very much. This is Scott again, disembodied here, speaking off to the side of the camera to all of you out there. First of all, boy, what a great group of people we have with us today. Literally fans of EVs and Zeros from all over the world today. Looking at people from Germany, Holland, the UK, Taiwan, all over the US checking in here today. So We've had as many as 90 some odd people involved with the chat today, so I'm considering this a complete success. A lot of chatter going on out there between the fans of Zero and the EV group out there. Definitely looking for questions right now. So here's one from, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, Mr. Kaiser. I'll just go with Mr. Kaiser because I'm not sure of the pronunciation of your first name. The questions around charging, there's a lot of questions around charging, Abe. And Mr. Kaiser asks, are there any ideas to support faster charging possibilities? And you mentioned Chatamo a moment ago, but also the Menikes Type 2 plugs. Yeah. And he also goes into 2016. Will we have more onboard charging available in 2016 as well? So can you respond, please?
Sure. So first, of course, I can't divulge anything around our future product plans, but I will say this: DC fast charging holds the future of public infrastructure charging. Eventually, when we get there as an industry, it'll be really cool because then you're not first. And this is not a great analogy, but it's somewhat of an analogy. Right now with AC charging, you're basically carrying a refinery on the vehicle, right? You're carrying the thing that turns AC into DC because the battery wants DC, and you have the weight of it, the cost of it, the complexity of it on the vehicle. So eventually, when DC fast charging is figured out, that'll be a really cool day where we could just plug in basically plug your battery to the public infrastructure instead of this charger to the public infrastructure. So we thought a few years ago that Chatamo was going to be it, right? And so we bet on that horse, and unfortunately, we came to find out that bet was maybe not a very smart bet because it just got really complicated out there. SAEJ 1772 was rolled out with DC fast charging. Tesla's doing its own thing, and it just and again, some stations not adhering to the standard was also a complication. So yes, we are exploring everything again. We're looking at what makes sense now and not 10 years from now. And you'll be seeing other possibilities coming from us in the near future.
Great, Abe. Obviously, man, the questions are really coming in fast and furious now. Yeah. I'm going to answer one here from Chris P., I believe, who's in the UK, about our future intentions in that market. And all I can say is just hold tight, Chris. Zero is planning our return to the UK, and it's a market that we're focused on very much so moving forward. We have a lot of leads from there, a lot of requests from there, and we recently even had a demo ride day there just this last weekend where we're getting situated to return. It's also interesting to note that seems to be a split in the camp between the riders. Some preferring range, others wanting fast charging as their primary option. What do you say to that, Abe?
Yeah, so I think we want to be able to satisfy as many people out there as we can. So we have been focused a lot on range, and I will again. We've also been focused on charging because both of them are important, and I can't tell you how many man hours we spent on Chatamo and OE charging, the OE charging that we offer today. So we'll continue to look at both, and we'll continue to make progress on both.
Okay. Jared Serfozo has a question about the smartphone applications. Are we going to continue to develop them further?
Yes, absolutely. It is one of the, from a user experience standpoint, is one of the things that we believe is a key advantage to electric vehicles in general and to Zero motorcycles in particular. So yes, we will be evolving that moving forward.
Yes. Will Zero look into using Tesla chargers? And can you comment on any specific things related to Tesla that we can take advantage of?
Sure. So Tesla chargers are higher voltage chargers, and so they're first. This is not a public standard. The Tesla standard is not a public standard that's being rolled out outside of the Tesla supercharger stations. But at this point, even if we wanted to or could get hold of that standard and develop, our voltage is just not in the same realm as Tesla's.
All right, Peter asks, and I can respond to this one. Do we have any Isle of Man plans? They saw we did Pikes Peak, and I see Harlan's on board with us here today. So welcome, Harlan, and congratulations again on the great showing there. But I wouldn't put anything past Zero in the future. We haven't eliminated any plans from going forward. I know if Harlan had the resources, he would be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
But that's certainly something to consider as far as our future goes. Jesper Vind asks, can you tell us a little bit more about your battery development and how the collaboration with the battery company came about?
Oh, that's a great question. So let me just step back to the last question and just say that we are, we're a small company, and we're very much into satisfying our consumer needs and all that. So our race budget is not very very high, and maybe that'll change in the future. But it is what it is. However, we do participate in a lot of local racing. So if you're in the Santa Cruz area, give us a call, or if you're going to be in the area, give us a call, and maybe we can let you know at the next race that we'll be at, because we do participate in a lot of off-road racing and some on-road racing here locally, because the guys are, really passionate about motorcycles, and many of them are very passionate about racing. Relative to the question on, I just lost my train of thought. The question that you just asked, Scott.
Yes, about our battery development. How the collaboration with our battery company came about.
So once again, back a few years ago, we were scouring the earth trying to find the best sell for our products, and we came across this company called Ferrisys, who's our neighbor here in Hayward, 45 minutes from here. And it's a great company, very smart people, and they saw a fit between what they were doing and what we were after, and we've been working with them ever since. So very close collaboration with those guys.
Okay, David Hiley asked, well, I think I know the answer to this, but can you provide some insight into where we may see improvements on the model year 2016 bikes?
So I can't say anything specifically about our future product plans, but I will say this. We're on the forums, we read all the articles that come out, we talk to people, man, oh man, we care, we care very deeply about, what you guys think and what your needs are. So we pay attention to what everyone says, or what most of you are saying, and we focus our efforts in the areas that you guys point us to.
Great. So John Rushworth, he's wanting to know, it's important for him to know the RPM to volt and torque per amp on the FX, as we need to know specs to compare. He sounds very technical.
Yeah, so I'll ask Ryan to get back to you on that. We'll note your name, and maybe Ryan can find you, and he can get back to you on those specifics.
Yes. So Eric MacArthur, going back to the charging issue, very popular topic. My biggest question is, can you sell a larger charger that can be installed in the bike?
Yeah. Again, can't discuss our future product plans, but we're very much looking at all of these options, and we'll be making a choice that I hope you guys will like very much.
And obviously, do we have the Delta Qs now that you could take and put on in sandbags or do the Terry Hirschner job and have them strapped around your body like you're a Mexican bandolero?
Correct.
Kurt Ringer asks, with Fox shocks literally in your backyard, do you have any collaboration plans with them?
We have done work with Fox for before we went with Showa for 15. We offered Fox shocks for some of our vehicles as an accessory. So we've done some collaboration with them. we've been working with Showa, believe it or not, since my when I was at Buell, I had a really close relationship with Showa. So when I came over to Zero, I called them, and it took a while to gain their trust and to gain their acceptance to look at our model line. But we've been working with them for a long time. So yes, we've worked with Fox. And we have a very close partnership with Showa, and we're always open. I mean, there's other suspension companies that have approached us lately, and we're always having those conversations. And if it makes sense for our products and it makes sense for you guys, we'll be looking at those things.
Wow, man, you guys are really we got a great group here today. Lots of great questions. Sean Richardson asked, will updated batteries be made available for older bikes, i.e. pre-2013?
The answer is no. The answer at this point is no. That architecture and that voltage, everything about those batteries is different from the new architecture. So one of the things that was a requirement or a target that we set for ourselves, with the 13 model year platforms is that those batteries be backwards compatible. So our intent is to continue to do that. So right now, a 15 model year battery on the SDS platform can go all the way back to 13 model year. And I should just a small side note here on the XMX platform or the FX platform, the modular architecture that we had on 13. It changed a bit, got simplified quite a bit to 14. So while we still make service parts, of course, for those batteries, the modules are not retrofittable all the way back to 13, but they are back to 14, and we'll continue on that road. But relative to the older bikes, it's again very different architecture, and it's nearly impossible to have our current batteries go back onto those vehicles.
Great. Justin Andrews asked, where can I get one of those Zero T-shirts? I'm sure I assume, Justin, you're talking about the shirt that Abe's wearing. Obviously, those are company uniforms that we wear. We don't have those for sale, but we do have Zero T-shirts available through our accessory department. Chris P. asks, is there anywhere in California where we can hire a Zero on holiday? And I'll take a stab at that. I do not know one currently. I do know that Edelweiss Tours in Europe offers Zero tours of the Alps.
Right.
So keep that in mind, where you can do a complete tour with electric bikes through the Alps, and they're quite popular, I hear. And then the other suggestion I would have is to reach out to someone like Harlan or one of our dealers in California and see if you can make an arrangement with them.
Yeah.
Justin Andrews asks a more serious question. When do you foresee the product line announcement for the 2016 line?
Can we say that?
Yeah, I think so.
So for the last few years, it's either been Intermod or EICMA, depending on the year, right? So last year was Intermod, this year is EICMA.
Well, actually,
and I'm sorry,
AIM Expo.
And AIM Expo, which was also last year, so this year. So AIM Expo and EICMA will be our platforms, right?
Yeah. Kurt Ringer is obviously trying to schmooze you, Abe, because he starts with "I love my Buell," by the way.
So do I.
And Eric may be looking for some work. That's a little. I didn't realize that. Addition of the onboard would be very useful. Spencer Wright just comments, in Canada, the addition of onboard J1772 would be a very useful addition with the Sun Country Highway Network. We do have an adapter, though, correct?
Yeah, currently we sell a J1772 AC adapter that just interfaces with our charger. Again, I think most of you know this, but let me just say it. J1772 AC, it's just an interface to whatever charging you have on board. So if you have a 1.3 kilowatt OE or original equipment charger on board, then it provides an interface for that. But you're not going to be charging any faster. You'll be charging a 1.3 kilowatt still. But relative to the question about J1772, and I'll say it again, we hear you loud and clear, and stay tuned.
Yeah, very good, Abe. So again, Thomas Campbell, more questions about new products and product development.
Yeah.
Ben Rich, another great Zero fan out there, and brand ambassador, is asking about different motorcycles of the future, types of cruisers. So what I would say to you guys that are asking these questions is, we take feedback from the marketplace.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
This whole company, we do follow the forums, we follow the blogs, we follow what people are saying. This ZeroCast is a way for us to communicate to the marketplace as well. So we're getting lots of great messages here. We can't comment on those now, but we do appreciate it. That's what it's here for. So I'm going to move on to David Hadi again. Asks, how can your existing customers help Zero motorcycles continue to be successful? By providing feedback and helping other owners sharing with friends. And Dave, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that continuing to be active on forums, which we monitor, is a good deal. Send us letters. Every once in a while I'll get an email forwarded to me from you guys. So I think stay engaged. If you come to California, sign up for a factory tour and come visit us. And and if I'm here, I'm always I look forward to meeting you guys. So yeah, and if you are in the California area and reach out to us and want to come participate at a race event, those are always fun, and you get to meet most of the guys at those events. So yeah, we're a very, I keep saying that we're a very passionate bunch, but it's true. I mean, we're motorcyclists at heart, and we love to meet other motorcyclists, and we love to to hear your voices. So things like this, right, like the ZeroCast, will be another avenue for these things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at some more questions here. I do have one here, so I just want to point out, just a plug for Harlan again. They do have the line of quick chargers that can get a full charge in under 2 hours from a J1772. So Harlan's a great resource. Ted Dillard asks, can you talk a little bit about your DCU, and is it integrated with the ABS in some way?
It is in some way, in a limited way. It does talk to the HCU. So the VCU, the Vehicle Control Unit, is what we affectionately call the MBB, the main bike board, which again is a master of ceremonies, the one that coordinates all these different elements of our powertrain. And it does, it does talk to the HCU in a limited fashion relative to, the things that the MBB needs to know about what the HCU is doing, and vice versa.
So,
2 minutes to go.
2 minutes to go. Well, hi everyone again. I'm not just a disembodied voice floating out in space. Guys, we have so many questions here. They just continue to come in. We're at the end of our hour session here. All I can say is that we just really appreciate all of you taking time out of the day. We had as many as 92 or 3 people involved in this chat today, which I considered a complete success. Obviously, we were a little bit nervous going into this, whether we could make the technology work and everything come out great, but this is great stuff. Bruno's asking, what about a smaller Zero that would fit in the European 125cc category?
We're looking at all of it. So we have a product strategy roadmap, and we're looking at all the places where we could play a role in, where it makes sense for us to play a role in. So absolutely, thanks for bringing those ideas up.
So we're going to sign off, guys. This has been just a huge success today. And obviously, there's going to be more of these. We need your input, so please continue to type in questions and input for we'd like to have your ideas for topics for future sessions. We want you to invite your friends to come and join us, share the experience about it. One thing at Zero that we're really trying to do is just to be more open, more accessible, to learn more from what's going on in the marketplace, to share the spirit that's going on here. We have the best fan base and best customers in the world. I think we can all agree.
Absolutely.
And that we will be back very shortly with another session. So thank you for joining. Okay. That's it.
Are we up?
That went good.
Yeah?
That
I'm
went.
still watching it.
Oh, really? So it's still on?
Yep.
Hello?
Yeah.
No, it's